guys, tonight we're going to be looking at slope-intercept from 2 points. And it doesn't matter if those points come from a line, a table, or they're just given to you as coordinates. You're going to be able to find the slope and the y-intercept as long as what we're looking at is linear. It has those two components and it's a pretty simple process. Even if you're not given the y-intercept or you can't see it, you're still able to find it just with the information that we have a line and we have either two coordinates or 2 points from a table. So let's just look at this Khan Academy skill since that was the one that we were talking about today and we were having a little bit of struggles with. But you guys are really good at understanding the linear model. The basic linear model is y equals blank, x blank, and in those blanks are going to go our vocabulary terms of slope, or the rate of change, y over x, y divided by x, and then our y-intercept, or our starting point for the data. Since the y-intercept's not given, the easiest thing to determine here is going to be the slope. So to analyze the slope, we want to see what's happening with the coordinates. It doesn't really matter the order in which you write them down, but I'm going to write them vertically just so the process becomes a little bit easier and applicable to more than just this problem on the screen. It'll also be able to be used for tables and really any data representation. So we have for our x's, we have a 3 that became a 6. So our x column went up 3. Whatever the units of that x value would be, they would have went up 3. Now our y's went from a -8 to a -4. So it actually became closer to being a positive value, so it went up 4. Slope equals y over x. And what we're referring to is not a coordinate. A slope can't be found from just a coordinate. It must be found from a minimum of 2 points. So in this particular case, our y value is going to be that positive 4. Our x is going to be this plus 3. And 4 divided by 3 can be just written as 4/3. So our slope for this problem is going to be 4/3. Now, let's see if I can erase some of this work so I can make some room for our y-intercept value. Now, y equals 4/3 x is enough of an equation to be linear. It might not be the equation for these particular points. I check by choosing one of these points. I'm just going to pick this first one here. 3, -8. So I'm going to replace the value of x with 3. And the value of y with this -8. Let's see what happens to our problem and if we need to make some adjustments. This is going to tell us. So if indeed this is the correct equation, then -8 equals 4/3 times 3. But when I carry out this math, 4 times 3 is 12 as my numerator. 3 times 1 is 3. 12/3 is 4. So right now, when I plug 3 in, I'm getting a 4 out because 3 times 4/3 is 4. I need to get a -8. So if I'm at positive 4, I know that I need to subtract to go down into the negatives. I have to subtract 4 just to get to 0 and then 8 more for a total of subtracting 12. So I think this equation is actually going to be y equals 4/3 x minus 12. I should check myself with that second coordinate, which I'm going to do. If I plug 6 in here, I should get a -4 out if everything's done well. So let's go ahead and replace our y with -4, and then our x with 6. And let's see what happens with our math here. It's a little bit sloppy, I apologize. 4/3 times 6 would be 24/3 we would have if we have 6 groups of 4/3. 24/3 is 24 divided by 3 is 8. And 8 minus 12 is -4. This equation did give me what it was supposed to with that second coordinate. Therefore, I know the equation in its entirety for this problem, putting together the slope and y-intercept would be y equals 4/3 x, I'll use their minus button, minus 12. And I went through that very quickly, so as you're going through this video, if you can't quite keep the pacing, which I sustained through the explanation, just pause, back up, go back through any parts that you need to for this particular example. Let's do another one. Remember, what made this problem possible? Just our basic principles of slope and y-intercept. Let's do the next one. Oh, we're practicing again, please. Okay. So this time, again, we're not given that y-intercept value, so we're going to have to find it ourselves by first finding the slope value. Y equals blank x blank. My slope's going to go here. My y-intercept's going to go in the back. And you can flip-flop the positioning of them if you want to, but I like to make sure to write my slope first, just so that my variables are kind of right across from each other, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to write my points vertical again. -8, 8 is one of the coordinates. And 1, -10 is the other. My -8 became a +1, so my x values actually went up 9. Here my 8 became -10, so my y's had to go down 8 just to get to 0, and then down 10 more, so -18. Big jump there. Well, when we calculate slope, we always remember that slope equals y over x, and what we're referring to is the change in the y's divided by the change in the x. So here, our y's went down 18, while our x's went up 9. When I go ahead and carry out that division, because I can, -18 divided by 9 is actually a nice integer value of -2. So my slope is going to be -2, and my equation is going to begin -2x. That might be the equation. It might not. We're going to now check it. Sorry, it looks kind of sloppy there. We're now going to check it by trying one of the coordinates. I'm going to go with 1 and -10 this time, just because 1's a really nice, easy value to always use. So that's going to say that -10 equals -2 times 1. Well, -2 times 1 is -2, but it's not -10. To jump from the -2 where I am right now when I plug 1 in to -10, I must subtract 8. If I've done my math correct, when I plug in that first coordinate of -8, 8, it should work out. Let's see what happens now. So 8 equals -2 times -8 minus 8. If this is 8, then we have done our job well. Well, -2 times -8 is actually +16. Negative times the negative makes a positive. And 16 minus 8 is 8, and that's what we were looking for. So not only have I came up with a good equation by using one coordinate, I verified it with the other. So I know without a shadow of a doubt the correct answer to this problem is y equals -2x minus 8. I'm going to go ahead and do one more. And then after that, we'll jump to another video on tables, which it's the exact same process, but just for time constraints and purposes, I want to break this video up a little bit. So I was not given the y-intercept. I was given the x-intercept. I know where my data ends. It ends at -6 because I have no value left at that time. But that really doesn't help me with creating a slope-intercept equation, which needs a slope and a y-intercept. So I make my raw equation. The best I can do is find the slope. -9. -9 is one of my coordinates. Whoa, that's really sloppy. Sorry. And then -6, 0 is the other. And again, it does not matter the order in which you write your coordinates. I could have written the -6, 0 on top. I just did not. I just wrote them in the order in which they showed them to me. So my x's this time went from -9 to -6. So I actually went up 3 because -6 is actually closer to being positive than -9. -9 became 0, so that went up 9. Nice and simple. We're going to get a whole number slope, or for the first time. That's going to be awesome. So slope equals y over x. And what we're referring to is the change in our y's divided by the change in our x's. That's what creates a rate or a unit rate, which is what a slope really is in essence. So 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So far, the equation of this line is y equals 3x, and that might be the equation. It's enough to be an equation in a linear form. It might not. We check it with a coordinate. This one involves a 0, so I'm definitely going to use it. I'm going to replace y with 0 and x with -6. Slope remains, though, because it is the relationship between the y and the x. 3 times -6 is -18. Right now, when I plug 3 in, or sorry, -6 into my equation, I get -18, not 0. To get to 0, I must have to add 18, so I believe that the y-intercept is positive 18. To check that hypothesis that I just made, I should use the verification of the other point. So I'm going to replace y with -9 and x with -9 this time. And if I do get -9 when I work out my math, we've done so correctly. 3 times -9 is -27. -27 plus 18 is -9. That's what I was supposed to get. So this equation is verified to be accurate. Y equals 3x plus 18. And honestly, guys, these examples are as hard as it can ever get. I mean, sometimes you will have fractional and decimal or even percentage values for your slopes or your y-intercepts, but the process does not change. Find your slope, use that slope in the equation you have in one of the coordinates to figure out what the y-intercept needs to be if it's not given. And quite often anymore, it's not going to be given to us. So I hope you learned something. I hope the pacing was good enough. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me in some fashion, focus or math clubs. You know, I really want to help you guys. I want you to be successful because you deserve to be, and you guys are working really hard. So thank you for your attention, and I do hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you guys tomorrow.